BOPIE has this beautiful ring made of 14 karat white gold accented with diamonds. She wants me to cut a piece of lab created sapphire into an oval shape to be the center stone for this ring. Now, a few weeks ago, I test cut an oval design that I like called Rainbow by the late Jeff Graham for BOPIE'S approval. She loved the cut, so now I'll cut this design in sapphire. However, BOPIE decided she wants the length and width of the sapphire to be slightly less than the length to width of the Mexican opals, which I previously cut. Her jeweler's eye, she just says that the gemstone will fit much better into the ring, and I've learned over the years not to argue with her jeweler's eye. She's always right. I showed you in my previous video the cutting instructions for Rainbow, so there's no need for me to go over this design again. I'll just refer you to that video if you want to see the design. Now, I spent a lot of time over the last months, maybe more than a year, on a special project that I have in my mind. It's going to take a while. It required me to spend a lot of time working directly with the labs that grow lab-created sapphire to get just the right color, just the right thickness of blue sapphire for my special project, where I do need to cut a rather large piece of man-made sapphire. Stay tuned for that video, but again, it's going to be a while. I ended up having to purchase a 234 gram slice of sapphire, which is about 1,070 carat, because they generally don't slice the slabs that thick. Other people don't need it, but I needed it that thick for my special project, so I had to buy the whole slice. Sapphire created by the pooled method is much more expensive than sapphire created by the flame fusion method, which most of you cutters are familiar with. But the flame fusion method just doesn't produce sapphire large enough for my special project. Here's a sneak preview of my upcoming special project gemstone. I trimmed a piece of rough, much larger than, a little larger than I needed. But I just couldn't risk having the piece end up smaller than I needed. It does have to be just about right. So I'll end up with some trim pieces as I work on this gemstone in the future, which I'll use for other sapphires, and they'll go into my inventory for now. Again, stay tuned for that special project, and wish me luck. It's not been an inexpensive project so far. So I trimmed up a small piece off of my sapphire, my big hunk of sapphire, and I'll use this for BOPIE'S project. It weighs in at 13.97 carats. And here's the second piece of sapphire, which I trimmed off of that big slab. It weighs in at 11.89 carats. I'll cut both pieces, and that way BOPIE will have a choice of which she likes better for the ring that she's working on. They're both from the same piece of sapphire, so they're basically identical. But I can assure you, BOPIE, with her little jeweler's eye, will see some kind of difference, and for the ring, she will pick one over the other. That's why I always try to give her a choice of at least two gemstones to choose from. I wish I had her jeweler's eye. Okay, because we're cutting an oval, our oval design, we want the longest side of our oval to match up with the 24 and the 72 tooth, and the shorter side to line up with the 96 and the 48 tooth. So we've got our stones set in our quill correctly, so I just tighten up the top retention screw, and we're ready to start cutting our sapphire. So there's always a question of which lap to start working with when you want to preform, starting with preforming, not working your way through the polishing of the stone. So it depends on the material and the size of the stone. And so this is clean material, and it's corundum. Corundum's relatively hard on the Mohs scale, so you'd use a rougher lap to preform. And I'd go as rough as 100-ish topper lap, whatever, 110, 120, 140, whatever is available in toppers in the 100 series is as rough as I would go with any gemstone, and I'd be fine with that in corundum. However, again, it depends on the material and the size of the stone. This is a relatively small stone, so you don't need to start in the 100 series. So I went with a 240 grit topper and preformed the girdle facet and the first pavilion facets. And I don't need to mess with any of the other facets. Now I'm going to go to my 600 grit topper and continue preforming our sapphire, and I'll probably go through a couple of more of the tiers. All right, I've pre-polished our sapphire. I used 3000 grit diamond on a bat lap, and so now I believe I'm going to try to go to polish, and the first thing I'm going to try is my dark side lap with 60,000 grit diamond and see if that how that works on polishing sapphire. Okay, I was able to polish the bottom half or the pavilion of this sapphire. I started out with the dark side lap with 60K diamond and a water drip, but it wasn't polishing it right up. I need to work with that lap a little bit more. So I switched to my bat lap and 60,000 grit diamond and snake oil instead of water. And that did polish it right up. So now I'll transfer our stone and be able to cut the upper half. Okay, I used my 240 grit topper and preformed our second stone. Now, I need to go down a little further on the pavilion to, I don't quite have a center point here, a culet, so I need to go down a little bit, but I have tons of room here to go down. And I've only gone over the first two tiers, or rows of facets. I'll use my 600 grit and go over the other tiers or rows. Okay, I pre-polished the pavilion of our gemstone with 3000 grit diamond on a bat lap, and now I'll go to the 60,000 grit diamond, and instead of a bat lap, I'm going to use my zinc lap. So I'll do 60,000 grit diamond on a zinc lap. For my other stone, I polished it with 60,000 grit diamond on a bat lap. So I'll just compare how the bat lap and the zinc lap polish with 60,000 grit diamond on two gemstones of the same material. So I polished the bottom half of our second stone with 60,000 grit diamond on a bat lap, and I put very little of the bat stick, the 60,000 grit, well, I guess it's a diamond stick, dia stick, on the lap, and just one drop of snake oil. And then after I worked it into the lap, I took a paper cloth and wiped a lot of that off. So I had very, very little diamond on the lap. And I ran it slow, normally like I do for every other stone, about between 300 and 400 RPM. I had heard that you run sapphire much faster, maybe 800 to 1,000 RPMs. But I tried that and I didn't find it any better. So I went back to just a slow spin of the lap and a few wipes over with the stone, and that polished it right up. So now I'll transfer our stones and cut the upper halves. Okay, to adhere my stone to my dop, I use this product, Light Cure by Helio Surehold. It's a UV activated super glue. I've been my third or fourth bottle. It works great for me. I've had some people report that when they get it, and I've ordered on Amazon, and they get it in Amazon, it's dried out. So, well, if that's the case, send it back, but I haven't had it come to me dried out. I have had a bottle dry out, the first bottle when it got about half full. But then I started keeping it in the refrigerator and haven't had any of it dry out since then. So when I don't use it, it's in the refrigerator and it seems to keep it from drying out. So I set my stones up in my transfer fixture, and I've got two because I kept the one after I sold my first Ultratech V2 and bought my V5. So I've got these two transfer fixtures, plus I bought another one that was handmade. So let me show you how I work with this glue. So I just put a drop on there, Try not to let it go down the side like it did there. If it did, wipe it off right away. This super glue doesn't harden until you hit it with the UV light. So then I just push the top stone onto the top. You can see the super glue coming out. So I make sure that it's got super glue on the dop and the stone all the way around a little bit. And then I make sure to put my bottle out of the way. And I hit it with my UV light that comes with the super glue. Although you can buy some without the light. But I haven't found that one. I bought that one once, but I haven't seen it since then. So the replacement bottles, I've just been buying them with the light. So slowly I'm getting a collection of UV lights. About 2 seconds with the UV light is all it takes to harden up this super glue. You can touch it and feel that it's hard. It doesn't stick to your fingers. It's all ready to go. So now I just need to remove the upper half, and I'm ready to start cutting right away on this stone. So let me get the other one ready. Okay, I finished polishing our Sapphire. It polished right up with 60,000 grit diamond on a bat lap. Now, when I was pre-polishing, and I went straight to the 8,000 grit diamond on a bat lap from a 600. It took me a while to pre-polish, so I'm thinking maybe a 3,000 grit diamond is better from a 600. I'll still do some more testing. It took me so long that I went on the last 2 rows, this part here, I went back and just changed the angle. The last 2 rows are about 15.58 angle and a 27.07 degree, and I just dropped 3 degrees and cut in a little bit to get rid of some of the, so it wasn't such a large facet to pre-polish. It's just this bottom part that needed pre-polishing, because this frosty part, that's going to get cut off when I cut the table anyway, so don't worry about that. That was just, again, to make facets smaller so I didn't have to worry about it. You can see the one that's flashing. That's the facet that needed to polish, and I didn't want to polish that little triangle because it was with all this other facet. It was just too hard to move it, so that's why I went back to the 600. The table is going to come down to here, so it's going to get rid of all the frosted part again. So now I'll cut my second sapphire on the upper half of the crown. Okay, I've polished up the upper half of our sapphire except for the table. So now I'm ready to cut and polish the table, and then we'll be done with our second of our sapphires. So I cut 2 lab-created sapphires into an oval design using Jeff Graham's rainbow design. Oval designs are more difficult to cut than, say, a round, a square, or a rectangle or emerald-shaped design. And the key is to hit the length to width ratio shown in the cutting instructions just right. If the length and width are not to the right proportions, then it will be very hard to have the meet points meet, and your girdle just won't be nice and even around the gemstone. Although a bit challenging, I believe any cutter who has already cut a few gemstones would enjoy cutting this design without any problems. And if you do cut a gemstone to this design, drop me a note in Facebook and let me know how they turned out. Photos are always welcomed. So Bopie picked the sapphire which she liked best and had it set into this 14 karat white gold ring accented with diamonds. I think the final ring turned out beautifully. The other sapphire is just as beautiful, and I'm sure Bopie has an idea in her mind of what to do with that gemstone also. Please take a few seconds and let me know in the comments what you think of these sapphires and of Bopie's new ring. And as always, happy fasting, everyone.